Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. I am joined, as always, by Billy the Runner Rothert.
You know, there's only a few times in my life, a few areas where I would be considered a good runner. Video games is one of them.
And the other one, I don't want to talk about right now. We're also joined by Peter the Speed Busby.
I try to do most things in my life with speed and power, mostly power. But yeah,
Speed and power, mostly power. But sure, speed.
Yeah, whatever.
Today's episode, the reason why I'm joined by Runner and Speed is because the Community Endurance Run, the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run, is rapidly approaching. It's happening.
Endurance Run!
This year, it is happening from April 21st to 23rd. The plan is, again, to raise money for Pencils of Promise, a charity that builds schools, trains teachers, and sends kids to school in developing nations. That's stuck in my brain now.
I wake up in the morning sometimes, and that comes out when I'm brushing my teeth.
Developing nations. But this year, we're going to be doing it again. We're going to be playing video games for charity for a weekend for 72 hours. It's going to be a long stream, and I thought that we could use today's podcast to explain some of the stuff, to look back on some of the stuff we've done before, because usually on the run-up we don't necessarily cover that, and also to plan out some of the things we are doing this year, because every year we have to have new gimmicks.
I mean, it's not really until this year that we've had like a rich endurance run history. I mean, I think this is the first year that we've been able to say we can look back on our previous endurance runs really fondly and say, wow, we did some really cool things there. We did some really cool things there. Oh, this didn't work so well, but like now we've got, 2 or 3 under our belt each?
Yeah. Now we've done this a few different times. We've had multiple places that we've been streaming from. We've done a bunch of different games. We've come up with different weird segments. It's all moving along. Things are happening. So why don't we start out with just some humble endurance run origins for us? Because we did not get on at the first community endurance run, but the first one we did, I believe, was the 4th endurance run?
I think it was, because we called it Goes Forth. That's the first one that I did. Giantbomb Community Endurance Run Goes Forth. I think that's why what they called it back then.
Yeah, I think so, because that was the first one. I think that was the one. It was either the 3rd or the 4th when I did my Final Fantasy VIII speed run.
Yes, you did.
And you were sick in a corner, not on stream. You were just kind of in the back of my camera, huddled up on a bed, playing Ocarina of Time.
Much like I am right now, actually. Yeah, so the thing with that was Gino hit me up a couple months prior to this. I think this was actually in November when we did this. It was like November, December. I'm pretty sure it's like the first or second week in November. This was the first time that we did the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run. And he hit me up in the summertime and said, hey, you know what? You should just come up for this cool gaming event. It's called the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run. And I thought, oh, hey, what is that? We're just going to play video games the whole weekend and raise money for kids. It's going to be a charity. I thought, all right, dope, I'm in, right? Now, I had never streamed anything before, so I was kind of nervous about it. And Gino said, well, you know what? You don't have to be on stream. Why don't you just come up and just participate in your own personal event? Just keep me company. Because this is going to be a madness of Final Fantasy VIII, and I'm just going to need somebody to help keep me sane.
Yep.
I was like, you know what?
The plan.
I'm a good friend. I'll definitely do that. So I go to Gino's place, many, many states, many, many miles away, and sit on like a small bed, like crisscross applesauce on the bed, and I have like tonsillitis or like some kind of like upper respiratory infection. I can't speak. It's not a good look.
No.
And I'm just sitting on this bed and I'm playing straight through Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. No real speed run, no real load scamming tactics. And it takes me 17 hours to sit there and play through Ocarina of Time in one sitting. At the end of it, I had like the worst back pain from basically sitting on a bed with no back support at all, just on an N64 emulator.
Just hunched over.
And trying to be a good friend for Gino while he's doing his real Final Fantasy VIII, which only took like 13, 14 hours for you.
Yeah, I finished that one pretty dang quick.
And that's my first and most fond memory of Giantbomb Community Endurance Run.
He left so much worse off than when he arrived.
God, but those children,
yes.
It was for the kids.
Yeah, I think we raised in the ballpark of $1,500 that time.
Yeah, I think it was about 1,500, maybe.
It was in that ballpark. That was my only plan, was Final Fantasy VIII, and then I think we also did a Pathfinder.
You did
thing. I did
a little Pathfinder one shot,
little D&D-esque stuff, which that was fun. I basically had a chessboard that I put in front of my camera, and then put tiny miniature. I don't have minis, so I had knickknacks and
you used You had a little chocobo and a little turtle.
I was gonna say, how many of them ended up being Final Fantasy knickknacks?
None of them were Final Fantasy knickknacks.
You definitely had a chocobo one. I'm almost certain you did.
I don't have a
I'm
tiny
just picturing
chocobo.
a chessboard, and it's just Final Fantasy on one side and Psychonauts on the other, and you're just bashing them.
Wow.
No, it was mostly a tiny wooden crocodile, and then a tiny glass hermit crab, and they were fighting, and some of them were goblins, because it's always goblins. But all I remember was that my character...
That's strange.
...was a half-elf, half-human that was... What's the name of the crocodile hunter? Steve Irwin. My character's backstory was she was Stefania Irwin, the daughter of Steve Irwin and an elf. After Steve Irwin's world travels brought him to the land of Middle Earth.
Great.
He passed through a portal in the Australian outback, and then fathered a half-elf daughter, and it turns out that he was actually taken out by goblins, and so she hates goblins.
Okay.
That's strong fanfic right there.
Yeah, that's
high class.
Quality.
Yep.
As someone who's written a potentially 2-year D&D campaign for his own friends, and I can just look upon that and just marvel. Is it okay if I borrow some of that narrative?
You want to get that.
I'm trying to fill in some plot gaps, and I could really use some Stefania Irwin.
Yeah, she
just filled so many holes in my narrative.
She was a ranger, which I felt was the class that the crocodile hunter would have been.
Yeah.
And it turned out that her distaste for goblins was because I think they get to.
You say it turned out it was revealed through your incredible reading. What do you mean it turned out?
No. I mean,
I decided that.
I decided that she had distaste for goblins. You get to pick one type of enemy that your ranger's
favorite enemy
good against. And I picked goblins, and I didn't pick what the campaign was going to be, and it turned out that we were fighting goblins. I did not.
What was your favorite terrain? Do you remember what your favorite terrain was? Forest, desert, mountain, or something like that?
I think it was outback.
Probably.
Outback.
Savannah. I don't remember.
Okay.
But all I remember was I had the high ground and made it rain on goblins.
That was a good endurance run. I just wish that I didn't come away with math. Yeah, I was just sick and poorly postured the whole weekend.
Yes. Luckily, we learned from these mistakes with our second community endurance run.
Oh yeah, we did.
We
participated was much improved.
Yes, back support was much improved. This one was the first one that I helped organize pretty extensively. This was the first one that we did for... Actually, I think we did Pencils of Promise, the first one that we participated in, but we didn't use their software to track donations and to make donations like we used an intermediary. So this one was a little bit more streamlined, but this was also the one where we had an idea about that we were doing this more than a week in advance, more than a couple weeks in advance. So for this one... We
Now,
had
did this one happen like the very following April? Only like 6 months. 6 months later.
Yes, that's when we decided
Okay.
that like we would stake out one point in the year and try to get as far as humanly possible away from other video game related fundraisers. Like get away from Games Done Quick, get away from
Extra Life, or maybe like big things like E3 or something like. Want to get off of those big weekends.
Yeah.
And try to find a nice little cozy spot for the Giantbomb Community Endurance Run.
And just get in the fetal position and go, please God, no one do something on this weekend.
Yeah.
But that community endurance run was a blast. The second one we participated in, we did a community Magic the Gathering draft that I helped organize.
What do you draft in Magic the Gathering?
We're not going to talk about this here, but essentially,
I can run it down. I have to do quick explanations all the time. It's basically you take the 3 packs of cards, and you open up your first pack. You pick one card and you pass it like a roto draft.
Yeah, like snake style. Yeah.
Yeah, snake style, and you keep doing that until there are no more cards. Then you open your second pack, pick one, pass it to the right, and then do that again. And you basically build a 40-card deck out of the cards you draft.
At the end of that draft, you should have approximately 45 cards in your possession, of which you.
That.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone did something wrong.
Yeah, and then you choose like 25, 27 of them to put into your deck. So, make a deck that way. Anyway, you can do it digitally. There's great formats now for doing it digitally.
27 is a really bad number. You want 23, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, I was off. Yeah,
but
2317 is the normal.
Yeah, you want a prime number? Sounds like
2317. That's what you go with. Prime.
Those are both prime numbers.
Prime deck building. Yeah.
That's how you know they're good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we did that. We did that draft. Luckily, Matt Rory, Giantbomb employee, participated in the draft. He helped us out there.
Very cool.
We sent out prizes to the winner, which was fun. I believe I got a fat pack and mailed that out. I was trying to make like a championship belt, but I could. It turns out, are very expensive. Yeah. So I thought maybe it'd be funnier if I just made I got a leather belt and just said, "This is the championship belt,"
and just hot glued like a dinner plate to it.
Yeah, but that didn't happen. Instead, it was just a fat pack. But
okay,
that's not a bad prize.
That's not a bad prize.
I'd wear it.
And then we midway through that, I was doing commentary because we lined up an interview with Greg Kasavin, if you remember.
I was also sick that weekend.
You were.
But I wasn't so bad. I was just sick enough that my Bastion narrator voice was really, really good.
It was on point.
It was just really on point. And that was the first time that I spoke to Greg Kasavin. And I don't remember his exact words, but I'm pretty sure he just gave a nod, a thumbs up. I was like, hey, you know what? Pretty good Bastion voice.
That's a solid Logan.
You can choke yourself there too. Instead of getting sick, if you get choked for a while, they'll do it too.
That probably would work as well.
Why do you know that?
I get choked a fair amount in my daily life.
That's fair. Yeah, so if you
I know that you can also just scream at the top of your lungs, so sort of just rip out your vocal cords. That'll also work.
True.
Yeah, if we've learned anything from Steven Tyler's career trajectory, it's that if you just do that long enough, eventually that's what your voice becomes.
Your voice just gets better.
We've learned so much from Steven Tyler's career trajectory. I mean, that's just one of the many things.
Yes. That man's mouth is huge. He's got to have just no problem with the fist in mouth, right?
Sure, probably. He's probably really popular at the dentist too.
Yeah, it's just great work, Steven. Outstanding.
You're the best, Steve.
So, Greg Kasavin, if you do not know who Greg Kasavin is, he was one of the developers of Bastion, Billy's favorite game. And
one of them, yeah. One of my top favorite games, yeah.
Favorite games. And Transistor, soon to be, what is the name of the next game?
Pyre?
Pyre, yep.
Like a funeral pyre?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Gotcha.
It's like basketball.
It's very different. You do dunk in this game.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dunking is a part of this game.
Is it a spiritual sequel to Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam, Guy Denman?
Not really.
I can't say that it isn't.
It's more like you play like this weird 3v3 basketball game with
Okay.
this crystal that you dunk into a burning pyre, and
But you
if you
dunk
can
yourself
yeah, you have to dunk yourself
in the
too.
fire.
Mhm. Don't we
So
all?
yeah, really, every time you dunk, you really dunk a little piece of
You dunk
yourself. But in
yourself.
this game, you erupt into flames, and then you're not present for the next round of this b-ball game, this spiritual pyre b-ball game.
Because you burst into flames too much.
Other stuff happened on that
Yes.
endurance run.
So
I think what was the main attraction
for us
was when Gino and I, well, I guess we were sort of doing this for the first endurance run, but very unofficially. But
Yes.
here, we officially kicked off a segment that Gino and I have been doing regularly, and it's a race. Why don't you tell them about it, Gino?
Sure. We have decided that because both of us we both like video games that are on the long side, but we don't like the same ones. We will do races, speedrun races that are weirdly configured so that will take, roughly the same amount of time. And so this race was a Final Fantasy IX speedrun that, guess who did that one, Pete?
Oh man. I mean, this is my first day ever meeting either of you, so it's a tough decision. Gino, what are you going to do when you run out of? Is there a chance you'll run out of Final Fantasy games to speedrun? I guess not, because they'll be making Final Fantasy games until the heat death of the sun, or they run out of Roman numerals, whatever comes first.
Yeah, the Romans weren't prepared for this many.
They just didn't think it through.
So that was me. I ran Final Fantasy IX, and Billy speed ran Shadow of the Colossus, but in a
Now,
weird way, because
we
Shadow
have
of the
to
Colossus,
explain something
yes,
here.
it's not that long if you speed run it.
Fairly short.
So Billy,
Yeah.
why don't you explain what you did instead? Your dark deed.
We have to take a step back and explain that we're not actually speedrunning these things either.
What do you mean?
So, well, we kind of are, but when you think about when you think about a speed run in classical terms, you're thinking about picking up a game that has been played so much it has been just like broken and routed out so perfectly.
I had my
using-
route. I had
Okay.
notes. I
had my route and I had notes
Of course,
too.
you know that
So
stuff.
what I'm saying is when you think about a speed run, you're thinking about get to the end of the game as fast as possible, whether it's an any percent run or a completionist run, whatever.
yeah, your run was not a.
My run was
normal
not
speed
that.
run. You.
I was essentially the first of my kind doing this. So Gino plays a game like Final
Much like
Fantasy
Shadow.
IX.
Exploring the Antarctic continent.
Gino plays a long-ass Final Fantasy game that would take 10, 12 hours to do. And I decided to do something similar. I played Shadow of the Colossus, but I didn't just play it once. That would only take 3 or 4 hours. I needed to play and beat that game multiple times in succession because your stats, your health, and your stamina carry over from one playthrough to the next. I had to accrue enough stamina so that I could climb the largest structure in the game, which takes, to my calculations, exactly 50 Colossus. And if there are 16
Colossi.
yeah, right, Colossi. I think actually Colossum is
Corpus callosum.
is yeah, whatever. I would need to beat the game 3 times and then get a little bit of ways into my 4th playthrough of the game. It took me about 11 hours to beat, which put me about 45 minutes ahead of Gino in that race. But Gino did something very cool during his Final Fantasy IX, something that's not easy to do. What did you do, Gino?
Which part of it?
In your Final Fantasy IX one, your
Which cool thing that I did,
your
Billy?
big time limit thing that you beat by seconds.
Oh yes. So, for a proper Final Fantasy IX speed run, like to even get close in terms of how quickly you want to get through that game, you have to do what is called an Excalibur 2 run. So Final Fantasy IX is really unique in the series that it has basically this incredibly difficult sword that you can get. It's the most powerful weapon in the game, and
The sword itself is difficult.
it's difficult to get.
Like, it's temperamental.
Yes. It's like, look, I'm not listening this time. I don't want to cut that guy.
It's like a Charizard before you have your proper trainer badge.
Yes.
It just doesn't do your moves sometimes.
Perfect.
So, if you get to the last, like the second to last boss, or one of the final bosses in less than 12 hours, there's a sword that's just in like the corner of this room. And if you get there after 12 hours, it's just not there. So you need to get to the second to last, like one of the last sequences in the entire game in about 12 hours, and then you get the best weapon in the game, which you basically need to be speedrunning in order to get it. Like, there's no way to play this game without speedrun tactics that I know of to get that sword. Unless you're, like, skipping cutscenes, like the actual CGI cutscenes. You can do that by, like...
Wait, so it's not like game time. Like, it's like physical chronological time. So it includes the cutscenes in that 12 hours?
Yes.
That's
Yup.
mean.
It is
Yeah, it
mean.
is.
Oh, man.
It is mean. You can skip the cutscenes. Like, there are ways that on, like, the PS1 you can open the disc tray and have, like, while the cutscene's spinning up, and then shut the disc tray and it skips the cutscene, and the game is keeping track of that. So that's one way you can get back a couple minutes. But if you're not speedrunning, you're probably not going to see that sword. And that sword is so strong that it's almost impossible to beat the final bosses at super low levels without it. So if you don't get that sword in time, your speedrun's basically fucked. And I got to the sword. So I was in, like, the final dungeon with maybe 20 minutes to spare. And I got to the sword with about 15 seconds left. It was bad. I was really
You mean it
nervous.
was great?
It was. It was perfect. And
It was a crowd pleaser.
the saddest part of all of this was that I didn't turn on Twitch recording, so I don't have a recording of that run. But I was sweating bullets. It was not fun until I had the sword. Then I was like, everything's okay.
Now, we had some donation incentives for that, too. I believe I initiated a couple of cool bidding wars for that particular run. And tell me, what was your party lineup, Gino?
There was Nicki Minaj.
Best female MC in the game today.
2 Chainz.
2
was one
Chainz.
of them.
2 Chainz was a character.
Best chain-based MC in the game today.
I believe
Drake there?
Biggie.
Biggie was there. Biggie was
was
definitely
there.
Biggie was always there.
I think I
Was
made
Tupac, I think, was there.
Tupac was there. I think, did I make one Lauryn Hill?
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
A lot of good female
Missy
MCs
Elliott,
in
I
this
think,
one.
was there. I think Missy.
Oh, you got
No.
there's
Yeah,
the triumvirate right there.
yeah. I think that was it because there's 3 female characters, right?
Um,
Freya,
There are 3
Freya,
female characters,
Dagger,
and then
and
Quina
and
is,
Aiko
Quina's
in
gender
between.
is
I think I just
unclear.
made Quinn a Biggie.
Yes, Quina's Biggie.
So, like, yeah, that's fine.
That's a good pick, yeah.
But there was like a bid war over Amaran, I think.
Yes.
And someone was like, and I was like, no, he needs to be Tupac. And somebody was like, no, he needs to be Sephiroth. And like there was like a great bid. I think we raised like $200 in the
Yeah.
bid war over who Amaranth's name was going to be.
Yes. And so that was, yeah, I remember that now. That was pretty great. We raised a lot of money that way. And the ultimate result was you won the race because your thing took less time.
I did. Well, hey
What?
now.
What?
I could have, if my thing, okay, I had just as many opportunities to mess up and have 15, 20 minutes just added to my time. I just was good.
I don't think that's true.
I
But we'll see.
just brought my A game to the speed run, and you brought a Quina to a Colossus fight.
To be fair, I had never, up until the speed run, when I actually successfully completed it during the Community Endurance Run, I had never actually finished a speed run of Final Fantasy IX. I had gotten up, like I had been practicing, and I had gotten up to the final boss, and I just kept screwing it up during my practice. So I just thought, hey, I'll figure this out the day of.
We'll just improv this one. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it ended up being that I executed the speedrun tactic correctly, but like the runs that I had seen had everything leveled just so you had like enough to exact seize kill the boss without being in danger. And I was slightly off on my calculations, which meant that I needed to improv something after properly executing stuff. So I got super lucky eventually and beat the game. It took me like 15 hours, and it was arduous. Then... Oh, go ahead.
I think that when I originally did my run, I didn't actually have a full practice of mine either. I just practiced how to beat each of the colossi as quickly and efficiently as possible. Some people had donation incentives, or like I actually had a pretty decently active chat experience. One of my best streaming experiences that I've ever had so far was there's like a couple of really cool colossi strategy that you can use to defeat some of these colossi, including a couple of bugs and glitches that I was aware of and could execute with relative consistency. And if I failed it on one of the first tries, I knew that I was going to be replaying the game again, so I could just try it again later. Some people donated to see me try a couple of cool glitches to make boss fights easier. Like I was able to pull off Colossus number 3, where the guy that has the big sword, you have to get him to break his like manacle on his arm to climb up his arm. You can kind of launch off of his sword on a part of his body and skip that whole sequence and save like 4 or 5 minutes off your run. I was able to execute that, which is really cool. I was able to execute a glitch on the little pit bull colossus that's afraid of fire, essentially getting him to trigger the cutscene where he falls off a cliff while launching me off the cliff, so that I basically land right on top of him when the cutscene starts again, and I get to get like 4 or 5 free stabs and almost one-shot the entire Colossus. A couple of really cool things, plus a lot of just stylish jumps, and some of the people in chat were really having a good time.
You styled all over those majestic beasts, stabbing them.
I did, and then I just murdered them without any remorse. And then I climbed a big building. I actually didn't know how many colossi I needed to kill in order to have enough stamina, nor was I collecting any white-tailed lizards, which also increases your stamina. So I didn't know the exact number. I had to just kind of guess it. So after my third run, I was like, man, I'm really, really close. Let's see if I can do this. And I needed to get like 2 more colossi to actually have enough stamina.
Well, you won that race, and then the following day. Well, the following day, we were both, like, drained. I speed ran South Park, The Stick of Truth, but was completely out of it.
I played Journey.
I did a bad job.
It was my first ever run of Journey.
That was not my best work. Then the next year, I would say, is our most successful. Like
this was last year.
$3,000.
Over $3,000.
Then this last year,
we almost hit 4, right? Yeah, we hit 4,000 this year.
Last year. So our last endurance run, we started things off with a showstopper by speedrunning Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Talk about a showstopper.
Yes.
I mean, so essentially, I planned this out as best as I could, with exactly which places we had to go at what times, the exact sequence of what bosses we were going to fight, and how to like pick up items, like who was going to get an extra pocket, who was going to get an extra pendant so they could get more health, like where we were going to get like a fire ring or a blizzard ring if we needed to have gravity at some point. It was so detailed. And we get to the final boss in a pretty decent time, like only like 3 or 4 hours, I think. We got to the final boss. We just dealt no fucking damage to it at all. And I must have miscalculated something or not had us built with the right items. I'm not sure what we were missing. Like,
the problem was, so most speedrunners who speedrun this game play the Japanese version because there's a money duplication glitch in it.
Oh, true.
So they're able to just buy the best weapons. We were playing the US version, which meant that we didn't like do some extra stuff to try and get better weapons. We just tried to go straight to the boss as quickly as possible. So we just had shit weapons. And no one, like, we knew the strategy to get there, but no one else other than me and you, I think, had practiced actually fighting the final boss at all.
Yeah.
And I managed to, in my practice runs, like, beat the first form of that thing while horribly underleveled, which at least gave me the tactics necessary, which meant that when we got to that final boss, everyone else just was immediately dying. Just horrible deaths, or they were ukes, which they can turn invisible and be invincible.
Yeah, we basically aggroed all the aggression from the boss onto us, so that he was stuck in a loop where he was only doing one attack over and over again, never hitting Gino. But Gino was a lilty, which is short, and they can't really reach the boss all the time. What the actual speedrunners do is they get a particular weapon type that lets you do like an aerial projectile attack. It has way better hitboxes on the boss, so they can actually get their DPS in. It's not so much about do you do enough damage? It's can you hit its fucking flailing head while it's moving around? Like, you may go for an entire attack combo and just land 1 or 2 hits maximum. But in this strategy, you're able to consistently land all of your attacks. And that's one of the big mistakes we made. We didn't have the proper weapon loadout. Our friends weren't as good at not dying, but we still love them anyway. This is actually one of the first and only speedruns of this type. We don't see, like, as to my exploration and investigation, I couldn't really find many other speedruns that had done a full 4-player speedrun of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I had seen co-op runs before, but I've never seen a full 4-player one. I think I only saw one ever, besides ours. So the whole idea of this was really new, and it didn't work out. We just could not succeed. We actually just fucking failed at that speed run. We just gave up after like an hour or something of just mashing our face against the final boss, just dying over and over again.
Yeah. So I tried to put the team on my back. It didn't work out. We gave up on the final boss. Then second day, we started off. I believe were you?
We raced Vaulted Story Abyssal City versus Mass
Game of the Year, Vaulted Story, Abyssal City?
Yeah, specifically Game of the Year 2015, Vaulted Story,
Gotcha.
Abyssal City.
Gotcha.
And Mass Effect. That one, I was playing Mass Effect on easy, basically, and ran through it as quickly as I could. I got that one.
I had donation, and so essentially, Gino determined that I needed to just have my game increase difficulty, which is fine. I did win the previous year. But
you see how he just casually drops that in, like, it's like, yeah, well, like, whatever, like, I was the reigning champ. Okay.
But
I beat him that time.
Yes, I did lose
Soundly.
this time by a stretch. It was not close.
I
when
had to
I
find
played
other things to do because
Yeah,
I didn't
to even make
expect
it
to have so many
entertaining.
free hours. Many free hours.
I ended up meeting some donation incentives to beat optional bosses, and with a particular, so I was playing a particular character who's a strong character but has a hard time with a couple of the optional bosses because she is demon or demonic in nature, so a lot of her moves are just ineffective. They deal basically 0 damage to this one boss, and I just got wrecked multiple times by a couple of key bosses. And I think I was also going for a no retry run, which means I had to do the walk-ups for all those bosses again. That was rough. And then I had to also increase the difficulty. I think I was playing on hard mode instead of normal mode. It was fucking rough, man. It was rough.
Yep.
I got my ass handed to me by that run.
It's fine. This next run hopefully
This
will go.
is going to be more fun.
But then
Is there more stuff from oh yeah, the other thing. Oh, this was great.
Our game show, our greatest
man.
gamesman game show. So the idea was, Billy and I are both very competitive people. We both enjoy video games.
Yes.
And so we thought a good thing to do would be to host a greatest gamesman event, where the idea was we would play a bunch of competitive video games, but
all in good spirits, all in good fun.
I'm sure.
But
I'm sure that didn't derail at any point.
no, but of course, how do you learn if someone's the greatest video gamesman and not just the best at a particular game, but by blindfolding each of us and
putting a controller in our hands.
Yeah, putting a controller in our hands and then
pulling off the blindfold and say, "Look at this game. Play it now."
You're in versus mode. Go.
Yeah, clearly if anybody was trying to answer this question, that's the exact methodology they would use.
So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because otherwise you had to figure out using your video game senses how to best play this game in multiplayer.
Were they games like you never played before?
Oh yes,
some of them
were.
I never played some of these games.
So we had
so first we played a couple of Street Fighter games.
Yeah, and Persona 4 Arena, which we played those before.
That was a couple ones, and what we learned from that is I know how to play Ryu,
and you don't know any of the mechanics of any of those games, but Ryu is fundamentally the same.
Yeah, Ryu has fireballs and Dragon Punch, and so I know how to just play Street Fighter if I have those mechanics at my disposal. We didn't really learn that much. I think we split most of the rounds of those fighting games.
You ruined the spirit of the event because
You're right.
I was picking different characters and trying to
You
vary
mean
things
Gino
up.
was trying to have fun, and I was trying to lay that ass out.
I was saying winning's fun.
I had a blast.
Kept picking.
I mean, I really just
couldn't even pick Ken.
Hey, as soon as one of my actual Street Fighter characters became available, I picked her. We played Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
That's not in your defense. The second another character I knew how to play came, I stopped picking the other character.
I have actually a pretty diverse group of Street Fighter characters that I like to play. As soon as one of the ones that I liked came up, I just immediately stopped playing the cheap ass character.
Pete, tell me here, as a neutral party. So we were playing Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which means there are characters from Tekken in the game. Here was Billy's two-person, and it's a two-person tag team game.
Okay.
Here was Billy's tag team. Ryu and Poison, his character from Street Fighter 4.
Jury,
his character from Street Fighter 4.
And my character from Street Fighter 4 was Cody. He wasn't in that game.
No. So he picked Ryu again. Half of his team was still Ryu. And then the other half of the team was a character who he played extensively. I picked a fucking bear. And
I do like the bear from Tekken.
You just decided to be bad. You just decided to be bad.
We'll settle this another time.
All right. There was a lot of other cool cool games. Classics such as NFL Blitz 98.
Ooh, I like 2000, but 98's a good year too.
We played NFL Blitz. We played Arthur. The Aardvark.
We played the racing game. I beat you by 1 second. Oh man, it's more of a slow race. As far as this is honestly the slowest pace racing game I've ever played in my life.
You had to pick up cookies.
Literally 1 second did I beat Gino's time. 1 second.
Instead of just since we're on the subject of NFL Blitz, I think it's weird that NFL Blitz mastered lateral technology, and yet you can't lateral in a single Madden game I've ever played. That's strange to me.
That's because NFL Blitz knew what was fun about football
is laterals,
and Madden thought that people just want to play NFL-looking football. No,
that's what the players demand. It's laterals.
There should be a turbo button, and then when you use up. I had a good advantage there in NFL Blitz because Billy didn't find the turbo button for a while.
I never knew that there was another. I could never touch that
bar,
game.
On the screen.
I knew there was a bar, but I was trying to press a button. Which button uses all as a meter?
And this was part of the thing. We played. There was the Arthur the Aardvark racing game that was bad.
Played that tanks game.
Yeah, we played a terrible tank game that. Both of us flicker because the game couldn't keep up with having two characters on screen. We would just be flickering and would go invisible because it couldn't render both of us at the same time.
So sometimes you'd just be shooting in the dark and
and it'd be hit.
Scored a hit. Great. We're basically playing Battleship.
Yeah.
Through some urban environment that you could destroy by shooting it with missiles.
It was like the worst version of Twisted Metal.
We played Wheel of Fortune, which I learned that I am a beast at. I think I solved the puzzle after 4 consonants every single one.
Fuck you.
I think it was just that was just an embarrassment, honestly.
I rolled I think $500 or $600.
I think I was 30 or 40K by the end of the game.
Got multiple letters, and then I rolled bankrupt.
Hey man. It's Wheel of Fortune,
I had to go first.
I feel like you didn't spin with enough skill.
I had to go first, and the game skipped my turn. Just skipped it.
The game was just nah, forget you, buddy.
I was trying to figure out what the buttons were, and by the time I figured out what the buttons were, it went, looks like you forfeit your turn.
Oh, so you didn't get skipped. You failed to take your turn. That's a key difference.
Pete knows what's actually happening here.
Yeah, Gino, I'm seeing some revisionist history here.
I had it snatched away from me by Digital Vandal.
Who is it? Pat Sajak, who's the host of Wheel of Fortune?
It was just Digital Vanna White. She was in
Oh, there
charge
was
of
no
it.
Pat Sajak?
It was...
Yeah, they couldn't afford the
Probably
rights for
cost
Messi. Yeah.
Vanna White was like, I'm not doing anything, though. I'll do this motion capture.
It was an alternate future where Vanna White is in control of the wheel.
Now, did we play any other games in that
Yes.
weird thing?
Oh, in that contest?
We played Custom Robo or something like that,
No, that was a
No,
different
we played like a Transformers one, like a Transformer game or something like
Oh,
that.
that weird shooting game that Gino likes?
Oh,
No,
we played
that was a different time. That was...
A different time?
No, that's a GameCube game. No, we didn't.
That's it, you're right.
Yeah, we didn't
There
play
weren't-
that.
I think the weirdest one we played was Arthur the Aardvark, which was a winner. That was a great call.
That was a good one. Oh, but hang on. The weirdest game of that whole weekend was when I got locked in a room.
Yes. So Sunday morning, I thought it would be a very funny idea to make a torture chamber for Billy.
I could see that.
The idea was we would find a terrible game, and people could donate.
He did.
People could donate to make him keep playing it.
Like every dollar is like another minute
Yeah.
in the hot box.
What was the game?
Creatures.
Creatures, okay.
It was originally
look
a
it up.
PC like God game where you control a bunch of creatures.
Good title.
They had little faces, and you made them. They had to make fuck to make kids, and then you had to like raise generations of them, and they had to eat fruit. And they
had to do some fucking like Rube Goldberg machine village. You had to like pull a bunch of goddamn levers and pulleys and God.
There was a fairy. I think the fairy.
I'm
was how you
pretty
controlled
sure
everything.
that at some point I actually all of my creatures died to the
Yeah, you
point where
killed
I did not have a male and female creature left, so that there was just like a lonely female creature with no mate
Just starving.
and just starving. Yeah.
Billy just had to slowly watch this creature die for like 2 hours.
This game was shit in a bag.
Confront your mortality, Billy.
So
Oh my God.
at a certain point, we decided that Creatures had played itself out, so we took the remaining time and made him play Digimon World.
That was not that bad. I actually played Digimon World for a little bit after the endurance run.
Yeah,
Like it ended up losing its flavor really damn quick, but Digimon World had some actual good mechanics.
it had flavor to start with.
It had some substance.
The first
As
one
opposed
The first one was like giving you garbage and saying it's chewing gum. The second one was like giving you Hubba Bubba.
and saying this is like extra or stride.
Yeah, this is okay. This will last like not that long, but it's got some flavor. That's
Good.
not
You'll
hot
enjoy it for a
garbage.
few
You have to actually deal with some real shit in
Like
that game.
Fruit Stripe.
And when I say that, I mean like your Digimon will poop, and you have to deal with that. And if it poops too much, it digivolves into Poopmon.
Yeah.
There is an
Seriously?
act.
Really?
If
the
you
thing?
are bad at raising your Digimon, it will digivolve into a poop monster.
Okay.
And that happened to me.
Yeah.
I got a Poopmon.
You got Numemon, and it's a slug. It's got very bad stats, and it can only learn terrible
There's
abilities.
actually a poop monster.
Yes.
There's actually a poop one.
I think it's Sumemon.
I think it's called Poopmon. I don't fucking know. That was also awful.
But yeah, it's a poop emoji with arms.
Now, was there any other cool stuff that we did last year? I mean, there was a lot of cool things at the endurance run. If anyone who wants to check them out, I'm sure you can find archives of what events went on. There was a cool Super Feet Boy run.
Yes, there was Super Feet
Like,
Boy. There was Feet Lunky.
Feet Lunky.
Foot Lunky. We have some other exciting things on that front coming up, but that's other people's runs. This is focusing on us. This is all eyes on us.
Yeah, this is us. Now,
They'll get theirs.
we have another Giantbomb Community Endurance Run coming up in just a few short months.
Yes.
Gino, shall we unveil some of our antics
Yes.
for this for this year? Who wants to go first?
Well, let's start off by saying that glorious Gamesman competition is coming back. That will be back. I have another terrible suit to host with. We have more blindfolds. I've got some terrible games. My hope this year is that we figure out how to do multiple consoles so we are not confined by the constraints, the horrible constraints of only playing on the PS3.
That's true. I mean, if you want to know who the best gamesman is, you need an array of consoles.
Gotta be multi-platform.
It's true.
Yep. We can totally figure this out. We just weren't able to figure it out in time last time. But I think this year we'll figure it out. I've got some real bangers picked out that I've never played. I just have them because we went to PAX and I went, this looks terrible. How much is this? $5? Great.
Where are your worst games, sir?
Do you have your worst games shelf? Let me take a look at that selection.
I bought a game. I bought a PS2 so that I could play Silent Hill 4 for our podcast. And when I bought the PS2, it came with a free $5 or less game, and I said, "Great."
That is the maximum price I like to say.
That's what I want to see. Perfect. When I picked the game out, he went, "Really?" And I went, "Yes."
Stared him straight in the eyes.
Yes.
Said, "I know what I'm about."
Yes.
Oh man, just be true to yourself, Gino.
I just looked at the back and it said 2 players, and I said, "Yes." That's the minimum requirement.
Oh man,
I want somebody else to share this.
that is the minimum requirement. It has to have 2 players. Anything that we can do together and have some kind of competition of who does it better.
So that is happening again. I've got some games picked out across a few different consoles. Hopefully we'll be able to get that to work this time. We also have another race.
We're going to do a reprise. Is that the word? Or reprise? Reprise our roles as speed runners wannabe.
Yes. Speedrunner wannabe.
But most importantly, this year we are adding far more antics to the mix. Just doing a game and trying to get to the end as fast as possible isn't good enough. Certainly not for a charity speed run. We got to have some way for the generous donations to play a part in this. So Gino and I have taken it to level 11 on wacky shit that we're gonna have mess with our games. The games that we're playing in isolation by themselves, not that hard to play or run, but given these new elements of chance, things are going to get a lot more interesting.
Yes.
Who wants to unveil first?
So I'll go first because I feel like I set the tone here. For a
you
while, I was originally going to play Final Fantasy X because it's my third favorite, or it's like one of my favorites. And I thought, that's a fun game to learn how to speedrun. That'll probably be fine. And then someone mentioned to me, what if you did a Final Fantasy V 4-job fiesta? Someone should do that at some point. And I went, so if you're not familiar with the 4-job fiesta, Final Fantasy V has about 25 different jobs that you can have. So like the Final Fantasy IX jobs, like, oh, I'm a thief, I'm a blue mage, I'm a monk. Like all those jobs came from Final Fantasy V and 1, and some of the earlier games in the series had job systems where depending on what job you were, that dictated what skills you had and your HP and your stats and all that stuff. Final Fantasy V is kind of the game that made that kind of is the apex of that system, at least in the older games. And so you have like 21 different jobs, and ideally you're using all of them. And you're mixing and matching, and you're getting these hybrid abilities. It's all great. The 4-job fiesta says, what if instead of doing all of that, you had 4? And these are the only 4 you get for the entire game. All of it. You get 4. And so I said, that sounds like fun. I love Final Fantasy V. It is one of my favorite. I love that game too. Maybe Billy.
That sounds fun.
Billy, why don't you join me in a Final Fantasy? We'll both race. We'll both play Final Fantasy V. And Billy was like, nah, fuck that. I just played Final Fantasy IX. I don't want to play these games for a while. And I said, fine. That's fair. But I've got an idea for how we figure out what jobs we have to use. And I think you'll like it. Billy, what did I tell you we should use to determine what 4 jobs we each get?
Gino, you are going to get a piñata, break it open, and whichever 4 jobs you earn from your piñata conquest, those are the 4 jobs that you're going to be stuck with. So there is an element of randomization.
Wait, you're gonna have a pinata made with 4 jobs in it?
No,
Well, you
the
can just
idea.
get-
My idea is I will have 4 piñatas, each which hold. So for a 4-job fiesta, you need you get the jobs doled out in kind of bunches. It's like
Okay.
6, then 5, then 5, then 4, with some random ones that you kind of can find outside of those dispersals that get you up to I think it's 21. But I'm only going to care about the 6, the 5, and the 4. And so there will be 4 piñatas, each of which hold 1 crystal worth of jobs. I will bash it open when the crystal breaks, and I will pick a job from the pile, from the piñata entrails.
Now, what job? So when you break your first crystal and you pick a job, does all your party have to be that job?
Yes, when
Or
you get
do you
that
have
first
some
job,
freedom?
they all have to be that job. When you get the second
Yeah.
job, at least one person has to be that job.
Right,
and
right,
then
right, right.
Everyone else can be. You can distribute as you want. Once you get the
So
third
if-
job, you can have 2 of one. You have to
Okay.
have 2 of one, and then 1 of
Mhm,
each. And
mhm.
then when
You
you
have
get
to
to
have-
4,
You have to have all of them.
you have to have all of them.
Okay.
Now, I am going to be able to mix and match jobs. Like, the person who is the bard doesn't have to be the bard the whole time. I can move it around and spread the love. But I cannot, as soon as I have 4 jobs, I can't go, well, it would be a lot better if I had 4 samurai. No. It's not how this works. Damn it, there's integrity.
There are rules.
So, I will be using a piñata. I will be using 4 piñatas to pick my jobs. We will have a piñata cam.
Now, I like this idea, I do, but let me just ask, did you pick piñatas specifically because it's called a 4-job fiesta?
Of course.
Okay, so we're sticking with the theme here. Got
Yes,
it. Okay.
Of course, it's a fiesta, so there must be piñatas.
So there must be piñatas, obviously.
So that is my task. The part that makes my thing crazy, like, the randomness is inherent in it, so the donation incentives will not go to that. Like, there'll be a donation incentive to name the main character, and maybe I'll throw in some other ones if I come up with them. But ultimately, a 4-job fiesta is really hard just to begin with, so I don't plan on having too many things to add difficulty. I might, add an incentive for master the piano. Your character can master the piano in Final Fantasy V.
I know what that's like. I'm trying to do it right now.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Oh, have you tried going to a bunch of different pubs around the world and just playing the piano in each of the pubs?
I haven't had my itinerary nailed down for my world piano pub travels, but it's in development, okay?
Okay, because what I've learned from Final Fantasy V is you need to go to 8 pubs around the world, just sit down at them and just start playing, and you'll eventually get better.
Seems legit.
Weirdly enough, there are mechanics tied to whether you master the piano or not. So there are
So,
there's
For your
some
donation
runs.
incentives, have you considered, again, sticking with the theme, that, I don't know, for each $10 increment, you just put on a progressively larger sombrero as the game continues?
See, I was
Like, how big of a sombrero do you think you could track down?
I was thinking, one, that's pretty funny. 2, I was trying to keep it like lightheartedly funny, but not overtly racist.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Fair.
fine line. It's a fine line.
maybe
Yeah.
you have to, every $50 eat like a progressively hotter pepper.
Oh God,
I ate a habanero one time. It was miserable.
that would be
Wait,
miserable.
somebody ate something before. Somebody ate like a whole jar of like olives or who ate some? Somebody ate something.
I don't remember.
Oh, coconut. It was coconut,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Somebody ate like a whole bag of
Mounds.
almond joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, mounds and almond joy.
I was hoping they just picked up a coconut and had like
They
gnawed
just
their
ate
way
the
through it.
whole thing.
Like, Gino, you have to finish Final Fantasy V in the time it would take Billy to eat a whole coconut.
I wish that was the task.
Oh
at hand.
man, that task might be easier than what task I am doing for the current endurance run.
I doubt that severely.
I don't know. Like, I really don't know how this is gonna play out.
Coconuts,
'Cause
you ever seen a whole coconut? They're huge.
all right, so what I'm
you
doing
only have your
for this
claws
year's-
and your teeth.
Just
But I'm-
gnawing through this husk.
So that's my part.
Yeah.
Billy, what's your part?
I'm going to be playing Bastion. Now, Bastion by itself is only 5 or 6 hour game, not that intensive.
Yeah, Final Fantasy V, if you get to use all the jobs, is like that. If you're an expert speedrunner, it's like 5 hours. I am not that, and I don't get to use all the jobs. So
I need to make this more difficult so that it's a more, not only more interesting, but more fair. And there's lots of donation incentives for my run. So I'm going to play Bastion. I think what I have to do is beat it and get New Game Plus so that I can unlock all of the totems that increase your difficulty. So I'm going to play Bastion. I will try to have, from the start of the game, as many totems available as possible so that I can increase the difficulty. Now, these totems are something that you can just toggle on or off, and it increases the difficulty of the game. Things like enemies have more health, they deal more damage, they move faster, they don't drop as many recovery items after their death. They'll just randomly block or deflect attacks or become immaterial and they're just invulnerable. Like, just random stuff that makes the game harder. For every $50 that my game raises in the endurance run, I will activate another one of these totems. There's 10 altogether, so if I can raise $500 for my game, I will have the game being played on essentially its hardest possible setting. In addition, I will try to limit how many weapons in Bastion that I have available to me. To do that, I'm going to construct a spinning wheel, essentially like a twister wheel, but instead of colors or other fun things, it will say which weapons I am limited to use at any given time. Any person may donate to have me spin the wheel, and at the very next available weapon switch, I must use that new loadout. And this is going to be interesting because there are some parts of the game that really, really want you to use long-range weapons or a specific type of melee weapon, and if I don't have that, it's going to get real hard real fast. Now, my sort of like safety hatch for this is if I get really, really stuck, I can just donate money myself, and I'll get to spin the wheel and hopefully get a better loadout.
But
it's all in this. But then again, Gino could donate $5 and make me spin out of a good loadout. So there is ways, and I'm going to say it's going to be a $5 minimum to get me to spin the wheel, just so I'm not getting nickel and dimed every 30 seconds.
So Billy, question.
Answer. Hands on buzzers.
If you are mid-level and someone donates $5 for you to have to spin the wheel, are you exiting the level, spinning the wheel, and going back in, or are you finishing the level and then spinning?
I don't think that's how it works. I think
you can't change loadout, right? Once you
can in the middle of a level.
Okay.
If it's available, I don't have to leave the level. I can just backtrack to the nearest arsenal and do it. If you're like in the early game and like maybe the first hour or two, the arsenals aren't very they're kind of few and far between because you're not getting weapons that frequently, so you shouldn't be loadouting that much. But
you will backtrack to the arsenal to change weapons when the $5 are donated.
Depends on if that's reasonable or not, because sometimes you can't backtrack.
Yeah, but if you can backtrack,
if I can, I think I will. That seems fun and fair.
Great.
Pete, if it's possible to backtrack,
if you're not participating, could you do me a solid and just watch Billy's stream and let me know when he is near the end of the level, like maximum distance from a arsenal?
I was thinking, like, all right, how much is Billy's unhappiness worth to me? Like, is it worth me just dropping $500 to maximize
just to make this game as hard as possible from the opening credits?
Like, how Billy's unhappiness might be worth that to me.
I think that so what I am going to do is I'm going to get to select which totems go on first.
What?
So yeah,
This should be in order.
I have to put. Okay, I haven't finalized this yet, but some of these totems are really, really goddamn hard.
I've beaten the game with all the totems. You're fine.
I actually have not beaten the game with all the totems yet, so we'll see. But some of these totems are really goddamn hard for a particular part of the game, and if I have to just have them on at all times, that's going to be rough. I also will say once I pick my totems, I will not switch. So usually you can turn your totems on or off. So let's say, for example, somebody donates, or we get $200, and that means I have to have 4 totems activated. I'm not going to like hot swap the totems so I have 4 active at all times, but I pick the good ones. No, I'm going to turn one on and it's going to just stay on. So I have to be sort of tactful in what totems I activate when.
I want every enemy dropping grenades everywhere, which is a totem that exists.
That is a totem. Every enemy will drop like a miniature explosive device that detonates on delay, and I have to just deal with that shit.
Okay, we'll have to get you maximum totems, because I don't know, you're describing this difficulty you're going to have. It's not like we're saying you have to use the machete for the whole game and that's all you get.
That's my favorite weapon. I would love that.
Not the machete. What's the shittiest weapon? The repeater? The repeater.
Probably the repeater, and then like the mortar is kind of bad.
Oh yeah, are you upgrading weapons? That's another good question.
So I have to explore this some more. I'm not sure if I can beat the game with 0 weapon upgrades, but I want to have my weapons as weak as possible. So that I have to upgrade them sort of organically throughout the game. I want this. I essentially here's what I wish I could have. I wish I could have an actual new game, like vanilla new game, but just have the totems unlocked. That's what I really want. And I don't think I can do that. So I think what I have to do is
get New Game Plus and then
do
just
New
not
Game
upgrade
Plus
anything.
And maybe like have minimalist upgrades.
You just need to not upgrade anything. I think so. I guess we can play it by ear on the day of, because some of the different jobs I could be assigned are way worse than others, and just by getting it assigned to me, it will increase my run by several hours. Like, there's no way around it. There are some jobs that I could easily get through the game in like 8 to 10 hours. Then there are some jobs that just by virtue of getting it will increase the beginning of my game by like 3 hours.
Like, here's what I would say. There are some, like, depending on your first piñata break, you could just lose immediately. Like if you get white mage for your first job, and for the first whole crystal you can only have white mages in your party, that's game over.
So I have practiced every starting, or 5 of the starting jobs. I haven't successfully used thief, and I haven't used knight yet because it seemed too easy, and I should learn the ones that were harder first. With white mage, it takes me about 3 hours to just get to the next crystal. Usually by 3 hours, I'm like, I have all 4. So that's just because white mages deal shit damage, and you just kind of have to let the slow heat death of the universe kill your enemies. When you have 4 white mages, like, you have to level up and then just heal yourself over and over and over again.
Well, nothing can defeat entropy.
You basically rope-a-dope them to death.
You let them punch themselves out.
Yes. There were bosses that I was up against that they ran out of MP. They just couldn't use abilities anymore. And then
I didn't even know bosses could do that.
They can in this game.
That's incredible.
I didn't think they would either. But that's kind of what happens. Thief, it turns out, is the worst. If I get thief, I'm fucked.
Huh. In other Final Fantasy games, or in other job-based Final Fantasy games that I played, thief actually had pretty good DPS.
The problem is
they didn't have very good defense.
They don't have very good defense. You have 4 of them, and they don't have any healing abilities. They don't have high enough DPS to make up for the fact that they have low HP. And they're the boss that you have to fight right before the second crystal counterattacks every physical attack, and thieves literally have no other way of attacking, and it counterattacks you with double physical attacks that deal high damage. So
welcome to the fiesta, man.
Yeah, if I get thief, I'm fucked. If I get anything else, I think I'm okay. Here's what it is. So there's the 4 different crystals. There's 1 job at each crystal where I'm fucked, and then there are usually like 2 or 3 jobs where if I get them, I might be solid for like the entire run if I get this job. If you get
knight in the first crystal, I think you're in good shape.
If I get black mage, blue
I think
mage,
black mage would be good.
White Mage will make it slow, but I can beat anything as long as I have White Mages. Or Knight. Those are all good. Monk and Thief are both bad, but Monk I can deal with. I've beaten the game with a Monk. Thief, I'm fucked. Thief, I'm like, I'll try my best, but I'm fucked. Second crystal, you get, if I get Time Mage, Summoner, or, what are the other jobs? Let me double check.
Gunner? Is Gunner one of them?
No.
Does Time Mage do what it sounds like?
Is
you
Beastmaster one of those?
Stop and slow.
Yeah, it sounds what it sounds like.
Do you get Beastmaster then?
Okay, so
how about
the
Animus?
second one? The second one
Animus.
is Mystic Knight, Time Mage, Summoner, Red Mage, Berserker. If I get Mystic Knight, Time Mage, Summoner, or Red Mage, I'm okay. Like, I would ideally want Summoner or Time Mage, but I could deal with Mystic Knight or Red Mage. If I get Berserker, I'm fucked. Berserkers, you lose complete control of that character. You can't give them inputs.
They essentially get Berserk. Yeah, that's the status effect.
Yeah, they attack every turn. You can't control them. So they can't heal. They can't revive people. You just have one character who's relentlessly physically attacking.
And what's the advantage? Like, are their stats jacked?
They have high HP and decent like damage output, but not that much higher than other offensive jobs. It's mostly just you're fucked. You don't want to use it. If you were playing a regular run, you can use it to kind of cheese through a couple bosses because they're not equipped to deal enough damage for to kill berserkers because they start out with a very high max HP. But it's only really useful for 2 or 3 bosses immediately after getting it. It's a terrible job. At the third crystal, it's Ninja, Beastmaster, Geomancer, Ranger, and Bard. If I get Ninja, I'm great.
Ninja's awesome.
Okay, great with Ninja. Beastmaster, also pretty good. Ranger, pretty good. Bard, actually surprisingly good. I beat a game with Bard. That's okay. Geomancer is fucking terrible. You get a little bell, and you get to use moves based on where you're standing. So if you're in a bog, you get a certain number of moves. If you're in a forest, you get a certain number of moves. But it's random which one comes out, and they do whatever damage they do, but it's depending on where you are. So, you're not going to get super strong abilities depending on what boss you're fighting. Sometimes they just literally do nothing. And they have very low HP and very terrible weapons. And then the final one is Dragoon, Samurai, Chemist, and Dancer. If I get Samurai or Chemist, I'm fine. If I get Dragoon or Dancer, I'm fucked.
What, Dragoon's not good in this game?
Dragoon's not good.
But they have jump.
They do have jump, but jump...
You can jump.
Jump is good in 1 or 2 fights. It doesn't do that much damage, and Dragoon abilities aren't great. And Dancer, the dance ability isn't exceptional. They can dance, Pete. That's their thing.
That's what the Dancer does. It dances?
Yeah, you dance.
Okay.
So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what my run's going to look like. It's going to be mostly me going, please God, one of the good ones, not one of the bad ones. And then if I get any of the bad ones, it's real bad. I mean, Berserker is the only one where if I get it, I don't know what I do. Not having 1/3 of your party is really bad. And then Thief will just eat too much time. I just have to level way too much. But we'll see. This is for the event. But I'm getting prepared. I've been speedrunning this game. I've been playing it every day for weeks now. And I've been trying to figure out backup strategies and pocket strategies for getting through this thing. So hopefully this will be a good race and not just Billy running through Bastion with me cursing in the corner.
We'll see what happens. There's a lot of RNG here, and a lot of it is in actually the hands of our viewers and those who will graciously donate.
And the piñata gods.
And the deities that govern piñata outcomes. So if
specific deity.
Yeah.
The Roman god of piñatas.
So I mean, honestly, if I get bad weapon loadouts, I might
Festivus,
not...
the Roman god of piñatas.
I might have to say, well, look, I can't complete this. I'm gonna have to throw down $5 to change my weapon loadout and hope I spin something good. And look,
And then
maybe
I have to spend $5 to make sure you stay with the bad one.
But look, what are we trying to do here? We're raising money for the kids.
We are.
So what you've done is created like a death trap for yourself, and I've created this great platform for raising lots of money for children.
What I'm hearing is Gino hates children.
What I'm hearing is Gino hates fun, competitive spirit, and children.
It's fair. It's all fair. So, other than those two boondoggles, do we have any other?
I have a couple other things that I want to do. I just want to have nice casual runs of a couple of my favorite games. Some things that I've had in my back pocket that I want to run is just a nice run through of Fury, which is a good little time block. I love that game a lot. It's a lot of fun to play, a lot of fun to watch, great music. I would like to do a casual run through of Shadow of the Colossus. It takes a couple hours to do that. I would love to just play that game. These are nice little pockets that we can just fill empty airspace and make sure that we always have some good content up on the screen for any of our viewers or donators to enjoy watching some silly antics. And we could get creative and just say, hey Billy, I'm gonna donate $25. You can't parry in this fight. Okay. Oh, hey Billy, I'm gonna donate this. You can't use your horse to get to the next Colossus. You gotta trek it.
You're hitchhiking.
You gotta trek it to there. Sure, man. Okay. All right. I'll do that for $20. Raise some money for kids. Argo. I'm almost certain that I'll have to admit that I'm probably saying the horse's name wrong. I think it is supposed to be Aggro, but that's stupid. I'm gonna call it Argo because I think Argo sounds way cooler.
Because that was a good movie.
Yeah.
And the Argonauts, they were a pretty cool group of guys.
Hey, come on. We got so much cultural relevance here.
Right. It's the name of Jason's ship.
And for me, some of the things that I've wanted to play, I've considered doing Final Fantasy 8 and 9 back-to-back at some point by using the fast-forward function. So just playing both games in fast-forward as fast as I can. I've contemplated that because
It's not that hard to do since the combat can actually be played in fast-forward with no real issue.
Yes, so that's not the worst. If I use as many cheats as possible, like turn off random battles and play in fast forward.
In Final Fantasy VIII, you don't need to have random encounters for like the last 80% of the game.
Yeah, even if you're playing it normally, you don't need a cheat for that. But in 9, like turning it on in some spots wouldn't be that bad.
Well, you want to turn it on so you can get those weird one-off encounters in the wild, like those little like good luck creatures. You give them like a
ghost guy.
Yeah, you give them like a coconut or something, and they give you 30 AP, so you just max out your abilities that you need.
Yeah, that's a thing I could do.
It's not so.
But I don't.
Anyway, I don't think I have anything else to throw out for the run. I mean, if you guys want to participate in the run, definitely do it. If you are listening right now and you think that, I could stream for charity, I've never done that before, but it could just be fun. I never did it before, and it was a wildly successful and a blast. We raised a lot of money for the kids. Gino, this is one of his first times doing stuff like this as well. And
I don't know what Norway's currency is, but I'm sure charities accept, what is it, kroner? Is that what the Nordic countries use?
I don't know, probably.
Don't we have a lot of like Finnish viewers?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll accept whatever currency is.
Yeah, whatever you have.
If you want to get involved in any way, don't hesitate. Reach out to Giantbomb Community Endurance Run, or just talk to Gino because he's got some people that he knows that helps operate. You can always send us an email.
Don't show up at Gino's house. Don't show up at Gino's house.
Do not show up at Gino's house. No one knows where he lives anyway.
Don't challenge them, Billy.
Everybody just find out Gino's house. Get on Google Earth.
Don't do it. So actually, I think we're going to be doing. I think we're going to be doing it at my place this year, right?
Yes, that's the plan. Yeah. So you need to look for piñatas or a piñata emporium.
You need a custom make for piñatas.
Okay.
Weave himself by reeds.
They should look like crystals. They should look like crystals.
I was going to make them look like Moogles.
No, because they're crystals that break, and then you get crystal shards, and that's where you get the jobs.
All right.
Maybe one's a Pikachu. Who knows?
We'll make it work. Yeah, who knows? But I imagine that for the other parts of the run, if there's any just empty airspace, we're just going to be playing dumb stuff on stream and talking and having a good time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a blast, a good 3-day weekend worth of just awesomeness.
I really want to play Magic Pendule at some point. It's a game where you draw monsters, and then the horrible things you've drawn come to life.
Sounds like a nightmare.
And then you fight other drawn monsters. I haven't played it in a very long time, but it still exists. Maybe it'll be a podcast game at some point. We'll see.
Oh, God.
We'll see how expensive it is now.
Okay.
But that is
anything else you want to cover, Gino? Are we good?
If you want to get in touch with the show or, talk about the endurance run and how to get involved, you can reach out to the show, and I will definitely reply at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have a comment section, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. If you hit us up at any of those, I can certainly direct you into how to get involved with this awesome community fundraising event. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Pete. Pete, maybe you'll get involved. Who knows?
I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna try to come up with something. We'll see how it works.
Okay. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I was happy that we could sort of introduce and kick off our preparations for the endurance run. I'm excited. This is going to be one of the best years. I'm sure of it. Yeah. Gino, real quick, do we have a goal, a donation goal yet, or is that to be determined? I personally want to hit 5K this year. This is just something that I want to throw out.
I think 5K is our goal because we can actually, I think adding an extra $1,000 is something we can totally hit. We shall see. I mean, I have no idea how we hit 3 the first time, so raising the number by 1,000 seems to be going well for us.
We did 4 last year.
We did.
So,
I think 5 makes sense. I think we could totally
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes. And thank you, Pete, for your input here. We will try to accommodate some of your criticisms and ideas.
Yeah, no. Anything to make Billy less happy and Gino wear silly hats, I'm happy.
All right. Oh, man. The silly hat idea, eating a pepper sounds miserable, though. That sounds like it would take me away from the controller.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that.
I think you're right to point out that progressively larger sombreros would get, at the very least, a little racially insensitive at a certain point.
Yeah.
But maybe you just start out with like a pimento first.
I thought that...
Oh, now it's a green pepper. Oh, now it's a sweet pepper. Oh, hey, this is actually kind of pleasant.
Just a tour of the world's peppers.
Oh, no, habanero.
Oh, no, habanero. That's my favorite
habanero, no.
I thought that just by including a piñata, so my idea was with the piñatas, it would actually be piñata rules. It's not like I have a bat and I'm just going to hit this piñata.
True. It is going to take time for him to have blindfold piñata situation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going full out.
My new apartment is going to have hardwood floors, so it won't be that bad to clean up.
I thought we would do this outside so that I don't hit a wall.
Not just swinging sticks around your apartment.
True, my security deposit is something that's on my mind.
But we will have to figure out a way to set up a piñata camp. Should we have multiple people like going at the piñata so it's a full-on piñata experience, or is it just me drunkenly swinging a bat?
I hope it's both of those things.
We're just going to unleash you into the yard and you have to find it.
Oh, no. Okay. So hopefully you will tune in to watch this stupidity, and hopefully it is as entertaining as previous years, and is as entertaining to watch as it is to produce, because it is a blast. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Pete. Till next time. Thank you, listeners. Peace!